Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the Bibbs Corner podcast. I am your host, as always, Mike Bibbins, and today we are here for a film episode in episode 32. I actually watched two films this week. The big film releasing this week was, of course, Tenet. And then the other movie, which I don't know if I really heard anything about it for a while, but it made a lot of noise once it was coming up upon release, and that's the Netflix movie, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. These movies have one big shared quality, and that is that they were both written and directed by two directors who have been nominated for at least 4 Oscars. Christopher Nolan, of course, the director slash writer of Tenet, is known for the Christian Bale Batman trilogy, Interstellar, and Inception. Tenet, of course, was famously delayed for months because of COVID, and the studio refusing to release it directly to streaming, saying that you had to see it in theaters. And then the question was, would that pay off for them financially? And I would say that it has so far. Despite a somewhat limited release in the U.S., they still had a $20 million opening weekend this week, now sitting at a gross worldwide of $146 million. So once again, I would say that their bet paid off. Now, I'm Thinking of Ending Things being a Netflix movie. The director slash writer of this one was Charlie Kaufman. Kaufman is known for Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Being John Malkovich. He was actually nominated twice for the Oscar for his movie adaptation, which was like he made up a fictional twin brother, and they nominated the fictional twin brother, both the Oscars and the Golden Globes. Like, that's how good he is, I guess. So again, two big time writer directors with movies releasing this weekend, and I watched both of them. So getting into the details of what occurred with these two movies, and two very different experiences. I will say that for sure. These movies were almost complete opposites. With Tenet, you had a very... And I'm going to do the elevator reviews. I know this is a new thing that I've kind of started trying to do in the past few weeks, and that is give you like a really quick review as if we are taking a quick elevator ride and you ask me about the movie. We'll do the break, and then I'll come back and get into a more detailed run. So, elevator review for Tenet. It's a very long movie. I think it's about 2.5 hours, but it is non-stop action. Like, once things start happening, like it doesn't give you a chance to really breathe. The visuals are amazing. Elizabeth Debicki, who she's been in movies like Widows, things like that. She was great. She stole the show for me as far as the actual acting goes. You will not make sense of the whole time inversion, moving backward thing, but that doesn't end up really mattering. You'll understand enough to enjoy the ride that the movie is taking you on. And like I said, they're not going to give you enough time to think about the fact that you don't fully understand the time thing anyway. In fact, I believe there's a line where when John David Washington's character is being introduced to it, they literally tell him, don't try to understand it. But then they kind of tie a lot of stuff together at the end, and it has extreme rewatch value because you're going to want to make sure that certain things that you learn by the end of the movie made sense based on how the beginning went. Then when you get to I'm Thinking of Ending Things, again, complete opposite. Very slow. I thought it was extremely boring. It starts out with a 40-minute car ride, and this is another 2.5-hour movie. So I think it starts out with a 40-minute car ride, and then it ends with a 30 or 40-minute car ride at the end. And if I was in that car, I would have fallen asleep. It's two people that are too smart for their own good. They're like having conversations about theories and concepts and poetry and authors. And I'm like, Bro, this is the most boring thing I've ever heard. There's supposed to be a couple, but there's zero chemistry between them. It's just bad. The middle of the movie, when they're actually not in the car and they're at a house, is the most interesting part of the movie. And I believe that's because my girl Toni Collette makes her appearance at that point. But it just was a really strange movie. Like I said, this is a guy from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, so always gonna be some weird stuff going on with this guy. But yeah, I did not enjoy this movie at all, and I could not recommend this to anybody. The movie's called I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and I thought about ending my watching of this movie 5 minutes into it, and pretty much the rest of the movie I was like, why am I still watching this? And I really just stuck it out just to see if some huge revelation happened by the end, but didn't really happen for me. And I endured that, so you would not. So do not hit play on that movie. Do not waste your time. Anyway, we're going to go to the break. If you have any doubt about whether or not you want to watch these movies or you just want to hear something more in-depth, then stick around after the break, and I'll get into these a little bit more in-depth. Okay, folks, welcome back. Again, this is episode 32 of the Bibbs Corner podcast. It's a film episode, so hit me on Twitter at BibbsFilm for my movie content. You may have noticed I've kind of slowed down on the writing tip, and that is an adjustment I'm having to make due to school starting back up. So I'm trying to figure out where I'm going next with the writing. I'm probably transitioning a lot of my movie content to the podcast as I slowly figure out how I want to present those types of things. But I think I'm going to be doing like a lot of news stuff on the website versus like reviews and stuff like that. Reviews will come on the podcast. So with that fully established, the first movie again this week that I watched was Tenet, and that did mean I had to go to the theaters. And I know I spent a lot of time saying when theaters open, I'm not going for a month, blah, 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 blah. And now I've gone twice in 2 consecutive weeks. So it is what it is. I'm going to try to go back to relaxing, trying to enjoy films from home. There's not a lot of temptation coming out in theaters in the next few weeks, so that helps. In that case, I think the next movie... Yeah, the next movie I'm thinking about going to the theater for doesn't come out until next month anyway, so I should be good. I'm looking to wait to see how this whole COVID situation goes. I have to admit that while I didn't have any issues with New Mutants, because one, there were like 5 people in the theater, and the movie's only like an hour and a half. In Tenet, I got to a point where even though my mask is very good with breathability as far as like it's got space between my mouth and the material, I was tempted to like give myself a second to breathe, like take the mask off for a second, because I was like getting hot or whatever in the mask, and I had to fight that temptation. In Tenet being 2.5 hours. But with that all established, with Tenet, you know, the main cast was John David Washington, Denzel's son, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, and then Aaron Taylor Johnson comes in much later in the movie. And I mean, that guy's a chameleon. He just looks completely different every time you see him. You know him from Kick-Ass and what was it, Age of Ultron, Marvel's Age of Ultron. He's been around for a long time, and I swear, like I said, he looks different in every single movie. But I enjoyed his appearance in this one as well. So it is an action thriller, is how I would describe it. A lot of action going on. You're trying to figure out the mystery of what's occurring. The main mystery in this movie is the fact that someone is using time manipulation of some sort, where basically they're living in our world, or they're working in our world, but they're coming from the future, knowing how things have played out and going back and altering them in reverse. So like as you're going through the present right now, somebody has come from the future going backward through time. Like literally they're still going backward through time, and they can undo something perhaps that happened years ago or hours ago or days ago or weeks ago. And so you see little moments early on in the movie where before John David Washington is even aware that this is going on, he gets into a bad situation and he's about to be shot, for example. And like he sees something weird in front of him. Like there's a spot in the wall where he can see that a bullet has hit, but he doesn't remember any shots coming that way. And then that hole goes away and a bullet goes backward past his head. And then there's a man behind him that he doesn't know where that man came from. And so you see little signs like that occur at different points in time. You see little weird things happen out of the corner of John David Washington or Robert Pattinson's eyes. And like the Nolan doesn't hide these things from you. Like they happen in front of you. But again, there's so much happening at once that you don't really have time to spend energy thinking about, hey, did you see that thing? Because it's still going. It's going. Like they're not taking time to breathe. There's a lot of sound and action, like I said, happening all around you. So you notice these things, you take note of them, but you can't really keep track of them. Now, most of that comes back around by the end of the movie, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that's what this was. This is what that was. But some of them you're going to have missed. And by the end of the movie, you're going to be like, man, I need to see it again so I can actually catch these different little moments and make sure that they actually happened as Nolan wanted you to feel that they had happened by the end of the movie. The pace is ridiculous. I believe it starts out with like a hostage type crisis situation, but again, nonstop action, nonstop movement, gunshots flying everywhere, people rappelling off of buildings, all that good stuff, bombs going off. There are scenes where they're talking. Somebody pointed this out on Twitter before I watched the movie, where like there are scenes where people are talking in masks and you can barely make out what they're saying. It doesn't end up being too important what's being said, as long as you can tell how people react to the things that are being said in those moments. But again, they don't give you time to question anything. Like stuff is just moving. That was kind of also my biggest beef with this movie. So, for example, in the non-action scenes where John David Washington he starts out as like a regular, maybe military operative, special forces type guy, ends up getting captured, which you see in the movie. They tell him he passed some type of test and now he's in the afterlife, and they make him some super covert operative. And now he's like a James Bond type character, moving in the shadows, going on these ridiculously top secret missions. So he accepts all this very quickly, moves on, goes on to try to gather information from someone who is apparently impossible to reach. He does that task within like 10 minutes or within like 5 minutes. And then they're like, how are you going to get out? He figures that out within 30 seconds. He gets some new information about something that doesn't make sense to anybody who has ever heard this before, but he accepts that information in 5 seconds, carries out the task in like 5 minutes. Those types of things like happen over and over in the movie, where he learns something completely new that he'd never heard of before, immediately accepts it, learns it, figures it out, and solves the issue. In that sense, like I said, it takes you're forced to believe that he's just this good, basically, and his brain just functions on a higher level than anybody else's. Even though they don't go out of their way to make sure you know his brain functions on some higher level, and he's not just like some super soldier, but he's also some super genius guy type of thing. Again, it's so much action, so nonstop, that you really don't even have the energy to question how quickly he's learning and adapting to these different changes in the world that are happening all of a sudden. He doesn't stop to say this is ridiculous or this is crazy. Like, I don't even know if this is supposed to work. But like, he's quickly like, all right, cool, bet, let's do it immediately. And I don't know, for the majority of the movie, he's not even really acting, I would say. Like, you don't get much real personality from him. I think that that's something that he's judged for. And so, because I saw people pointing that out before I went into the movie, I kind of looked for it. And they were pretty much right. There was like no charisma from him. I think he chuckles twice in the movie or something. And like, that's as much as you get from him until the end of the movie, when he starts to finally notice some things are slightly off and starts to question them and doesn't get answers that he likes, and like you start to see a little bit of emotion from him in those moments. The majority of the emotional content comes from Elizabeth Debicki as JDW, is what I'm going to call him going forward, is going throughout his tasks. He ends up figuring out that Elizabeth Debicki's husband is like a major player in whatever's happening. And then he also finds out from her that he's controlling her, basically. Like, she can't get away from him. And so now you get this huge international time travel mystery on top of this damsel in distress situation. And JDW is going to save the girl. And you see her struggle with her relationship with the husband and stuff like that. And again, her interactions with her husband, who's played by Kenneth Branagh, is where all the emotional real content is until the end of the movie. You get some stuff from JDW and Robert Pattinson. Overall, I think that I'm a type of person that when I watch a movie, I need it to make sense. And like, even if it's a fantasy type thing, like, you need to make it make sense within your world. And in this case, this is supposed to be the natural world, and not necessarily the whole moving backwards through time needed to make sense, but how people react to learning that this is occurring needs to make sense to me. Like, he just learned it way too quickly, understood it way too quickly, didn't make any mistakes type of thing. And I needed him to make a few mistakes or something. Like, he was way too good is what I'm saying. And I had no reason to believe why he was this good. Unless they wanted me to believe that him, quote unquote, passing that test in the beginning of the movie. But in my opinion, that passing of the test was just showing that he was a soldier. It didn't mean that he was on some higher level or plane of thinking. So I didn't do it for me. That's what kept this movie really from being great. But again, does not take away from the enjoyment. Very fun movie, and I'm definitely planning to watch it again. Not in theaters though. Let's see here. Is there anything else I wanted to say about that? Oh, yeah. The one thing I was going to say, in addition to that, besides the fact that I do plan to rewatch it, is that I think the genius in Nolan of how he did this movie is that it kind of forces you to watch it more than once. And because you're just on such a ride during that first viewing, and you're trying to figure things out that he doesn't give you an opportunity to figure out, that when he throws a lot of stuff at you in those final 5 to 10 minutes, that's where you're going to want to watch the first hour or 2 hours to make sure that those things that he throws at you at the end made sense and stuff like that. So, like I said, he knows what he's doing. And this is where I point out that I have not really watched Inception. I watched it on a bootleg DVD when it first came out. Like, and I do mean a bootleg. I'm talking about people walking in front of the camera. You can hear them chewing popcorn in the background type stuff. So, I do need to rewatch Inception. I was talking to my man Mike on Twitter about that. So, but I did, even with that said, I did get very, very strong Inception vibes from this movie. So, if you are thinking about watching it, if you want to wait, feel free to wait, of course. Take your time getting to theaters. Don't want to risk things if you don't have to. I think I benefit from not having to be around people most of the time. So that's why I was willing to take a little bit of risk up front. But I'm going to go back to relaxing after this. Let me pause real quick. Okay, so moving on. I'm thinking of ending things. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this movie because it was that bad. Main cast is Jesse Plemons and Tony Collette are the two that I'm aware I knew of going in. Those are my guys and gals, I'll say. I love Tony Collette. I don't know what it is about her. I don't know. I'm just very infatuated with that woman. Um, in my opinion, I'm thinking of Ending Things is based on a book, and it is a movie that is too smart for its own good. It's the type of movie that critics are going to enjoy picking apart and writing real intelligent think pieces about. But people that just want to watch a movie and have a good time are not going to like this movie. Right now, I think it has a 100% rating from Rotten Tomatoes. I'm going to pull it up real quick while I'm on here. Tenet, by the way, 74% from critics, 79% from regular people. So again, just a solid movie, nothing to complain about. I'm thinking of Ending Things actually has an 83% from critics, and it does not have enough ratings from regular people to generate a rating. So I'm gonna read a couple of the synopses for, or some of the summaries for some of these reviews by critics. One person said this film can't be understood with logic, but rather with emotion. Another person, it's a forlorn, poetic, infuriatingly solipsistic thing. Although nobody is better than Kaufman at suggesting our unruly, unfakeable thought life, the truth blurs and thought farts that make up our disobedient interiors. Another person, it works in every possible way, nearly flawless while setting itself in a world that is far from flawless. Like all these deep, poetic people trying to be smarter than smart. And here we go. This film will confound and infuriate you, but it will also stick with you for a while. Charlie Kaufman's latest is so good it induces separation anxiety. Like these types of reviews are, come on, man. Like these are the type of movies that critics, I don't know, these are the type of movies that I'm trying to gather my thoughts on it. It's the type of movie that is meant, it's meant for critics. It's meant for the sophisticatedly sophisticated to stick their pinky out with the glass of wine and talk about over a fire while chuckling about the things that somebody else didn't understand. It's that type of movie, and I don't know. I'm just not that viewer, and I assume that most people are not. And that's fine. If that's your audience, if your audience is the high society film thespians, I'm just saying words at this point, then by all means go for it. But as far as like regular people thinking that this, and I don't mean, and I'm putting myself as regular people here, by the way. But the average viewer, if you're looking to have some type of emotional bond, if you're looking to laugh or cry or be terrified, you're not getting that from this movie. This movie wants you to think, and not about anything tangible, but think about things in the abstract. It wants you to contemplate life and time and the measure of a being, and there's a point where it makes me wonder if it is trying to get inside the brain of someone with Alzheimer's, or if it is simply trying to portray an individual with a lack of or a certain disdain for the passing of time, and trying to find a way to trap himself in his younger years. It's the type of film that if you smoke a pipe and watch it with a stick up your butt, you may be able to enjoy it, but otherwise, do not watch this damn movie. I'm sorry, I'm going way too hard on this movie. The movie doesn't want you to make sure you understand it. It wants you to draw your own understanding. I went into it thinking it was going to be a Get Out type situation, but it wasn't. Like Get Out had deep themes as well, but it also worked on an entertainment value level without you having to get into the deeper themes. And that's what this movie is missing. It doesn't have entertainment value in my opinion. It's a thesis paper. Like you don't want to read it. You even the summary of it isn't interesting, which is why I'm doing impressions and reading other people's reviews. You get the idea behind the movie pretty quickly, and then about halfway through, you get some more stuff that kind of makes it a little bit more confusing. But by that point, I was just kind of trying to figure out what they were trying to tell me, and if I would get their answer by the end. And I did not get that answer. Like, I could have turned this movie off within 5 minutes and gone on with my life, but I stuck through it because I wanted to make sure before I dissed it. And again, I could not recommend. I can't think of a single person I would recommend to watch this movie. And again, you may like it. People may like it. Like, critics appear to like it, but I couldn't do it, and I'm definitely not recommending it. So, with that fully established, that's pretty much it for this week. I do want to get into the big movies coming out next week, and that is, there's not really anything huge coming out, but there were 2 movies coming out next week that got my attention. The Broken Hearts Gallery is a movie featuring Geraldine Viswanathan, who was my standout from Bad Education, and Darcy, I don't know how he pronounces his name, Montgomery, who played Billy in Stranger Things, R.I.P. So those 2 in what looks to be some sort of romantic comedy type situation. So that movie's coming out this weekend. And then the Helen Reddy story, I Am a Woman, which features Evan Peters and Danielle McDonald from Dumpling and Patty Cakes. So that got my attention because I know those 2. I don't know much about Helen Reddy, and I'm probably not going to watch that movie. But those are the two movies that caught my attention that are coming out next week. The week after that has some more interesting looking movies. Just keeping it a buck. So, excuse me. So this upcoming week, I'm probably going to be watching movies that I've missed from earlier in the year, movies that I've been putting off. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to almost guarantee I'm going to watch something good this coming week. And in the middle of the week, and if you're a person that listens to the movie stuff and the sports stuff, middle of the week, I do have another conversation with Mavs fans coming up. I have 2 guests scheduled. I'm excited about that. And if you're interested in being on, let me know. I kind of have my lineup in order, but if somebody tells me no or has to pull out at the last second, I can quickly replace and refill if I know who's interested in coming on. So again, thank you all for checking in. This one's going to come out close to 30 minutes, I believe. Trying to keep the movie ones kind of short if I can. So again, Tenet, I'm going to give it probably 3.5 out of 5. And then I'm thinking of ending things is maybe going to get a 1. Maybe not. We'll see. Thanks again for checking in. Bibbs out.